Hello everyone, welcome back to Spurs in the Stands. I'm Sarah. Today we've got some news talking about the wage cuts which have been revealed should Tottenham Hotspur potentially be relegated. We're also going to discuss the sporting director search, which is now well underway. And we're also going to talk about some ref controversy which has come up, and there's some other bits of news which have been circling around Tottenham Hotspur over the last 24 hours. And so Tottenham, as we keep saying, is the gift that keeps on giving. And just when I think that I'm going to struggle to do one of these videos, news always comes out, and probably the press conference with Igor Tudor as I'm making this is probably going to be released as well. So lots and lots to get through. No rest for the wicked. So I just also wanted to say that we have just hit 3,000 subscribers on this channel within 2 months, which is absolutely mind-blowing, guys. So I just want to say a massive, massive shout out and thank you to the community for helping to build this community, for helping to, come together. I know times are tough right now. Part of the reason why this channel may be growing so much is maybe you need a little bit of comfort, a little bit of, support from other fans right now as well. I can see some of you discussing things in the in the comments, and I absolutely love that. So I just want to say thank you so much for all your support, and look, let's just keep growing, and let's hope that the trajectory for this channel is going to be up, but also for Tottenham Hotspur, because if we could translate those 3,000 subscribers into 3 points on the board, I would be so happy. But yeah, if you are new around here, please do like, subscribe, comment, share, hype the video, because it really is helping the channel. And I know that there's so many people out there right now that are just disengaged with Spurs, have given up on our beloved club, but all hope is not lost just yet. So, sit tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but I myself have got to the point where I'm no longer grieving. I've just accepted the fact that this is what it is. And so we ride it out. The decision is not in our hands anymore. The fate of this club is in the player and the manager's hands. So we've got a lot to dive into. And also, I should mention, today, we are 100 days out from the World Cup. So if you can't get enough football content, just to say that, there's going to be some more content maybe coming this summer. I don't know where this channel is going to go, whether it's going to grow arms and legs, but let's see where we get to, one thing at a time. I said I was going to show up on here. I made a commitment to myself that every day I was going to show up on here since that first video. And I'm immensely proud that I've managed to do that. So celebrating my wins as well, but also to celebrate you guys for showing up and supporting me and following on this journey. So there was the other thing that I just wanted to mention before we dive into the news is that I've received quite a few messages and emails from people who are wanting to set up a YouTube channel, whether that be about Tottenham Hotspur or something else. Now, look, I don't necessarily consider myself to be a content creator, but it kind of looks like we're going that way. So I am toying with the idea of potentially what that could look like. Maybe we can do some kind of workshop. Maybe it's going to look like a course. I'm not quite sure exactly yet, but that might be in the pipeline. So I'm thinking of setting up a wait list for that. So if there is interest, you can feel free to drop me an email, spursfromthestands@gmail.com. Please don't send any dodgy photos or images. Not really welcomed, and you will be blocked. But yeah, please do, if you are interested in that kind of thing, that kind of conversation, there is space for everyone. So the more people that we can share this trauma with, and help everyone get through it, the better. So I'm here for it, and I'm here to help people. So I'm going to try, obviously my bandwidth is limited, so that might not be one-to-one, but I'm going to see what we can do to, help more and more people to, maybe become successful YouTubers at the end of the day. So just to pin that. And the other thing that I wanted to mention has gone out of my head, so we'll park that for later. Oh, yes, a call out to the community. That was it. I am going through a little bit of a rebrand on my coaching business. So just to say, because some of you have reached out to me, sending me thumbnails and all sorts of stuff via email. So if there's anyone out there in the community who is a web designer, who has expertise in building funnels, then please do contact me, because that would be greatly appreciated. And if not you personally, maybe someone in your network knows how to build funnels and rebranding websites. So I already have an existing website, but it needs updating. So that would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, guys, 5 minutes in and we are about to dive into the news. And for this, I have got some slides. So first piece of news for today is that Tottenham Hotspur have written to the PGMOL over refereeing decisions. So the reason why I called this video Spurs in Turmoil was not to scaremonger people, and it wasn't clickbait, because it really does seem that Tottenham Hotspur have lost the plot with this one. So the BBC have reported, I'm just going to skim over this, but if you want to go and read the news article, it's over on the BBC website. They have basically said, sources have told the BBC the correspondence is primarily focused on what the club's views are. What the club views as inconsistent decisions that have led to goals being allowed or disallowed as a result of contact inside the penalty area. Spurs believe they have been on the wrong end of a number of these key incidences this season. So the article goes on to detail some of those incidences. Of course, off the top of your head, you can probably name 3 or 4 of those off the top of your head because they've been so blatantly obvious. I think we all know the inconsistencies that have been going on in the refereeing arena this season. So at the bottom of the article, it says, since becoming the PGMOL's chief refereeing officer in 2022, Howard Webb has sought greater transparency related to the communication of decisions, but also strived for constructive direct engagement with clubs. And the PGMOL has declined to comment. So we have no comment from the PGMOL. Howard Webb is basically saying that, there's greater transparency, although we know off the back of the Fulham game? No, sorry, the Arsenal game, the podcast, which is where the referees do their sort of like post-match discussions. There was an episode on the Match Officials Mic'd Up show, and the referees were saying how you can clearly see that 2 hands were used to push the player, and so it was a clear push, and they were happy enough to disallow Moani's goal on the basis that it was an obvious push. So obviously we know by now there has been many inconsistencies. However, the reason why I think this is newsworthy is because the question that I'm asking is, why the hell is Tottenham Hotspur only bringing this up now? Because they could have brought this up earlier in the season. They could have brought this up in previous seasons. But of course, this is coming to the forefront now because it's going to potentially cost Tottenham Hotspur their place in the Premier League. Like, this is where it's got to at this point. When you're losing games instead of potentially drawing games or taking 3 points from games, it's really, the inconsistency is really costly to a club. And of course, there's been speculation that I even tweeted the other day about the CEO of the Premier League, who basically said that sometimes decisions are made because they want new title holders every 6 years. So call that what you will. But of course, I was thinking the other day, like, would it be helpful if there was some kind of AI to help make some decisions? So obviously goal line technology is like the most obvious technology that's required in the Premier League. However, even though there's VAR, maybe arguably for offside, but other things like fouls, it seems kind of a bit pointless. Like, if you're still going to have the refereeing overriding the decision of the VAR, so the whole thing is just, the whole refereeing situation just needs a complete revamp, or like they need to review it in some way. I think it's been now 7 years since goal line technology came in. And I think originally they said there was going to be a review after 10 years. But what's ended up happening is that every year they've come up with these like new rules that they've basically added to the rule book without really considering the consequence of what that actually means and looks like on the pitch. And so we've got to this place now where the refereeing standards are just all over the place. Sometimes the decisions that are made make absolutely no sense. And I'm not just saying this because we've been stung and on the back end of this, but there are many other clubs that this has happened to. It's not just Tottenham Hotspur. There are so many clubs that have had decisions go against them for not because of VAR decisions, but just decisions from a referee which have seemed inconsistent from game to game. So I think they need to find a way to eliminate the bias from the refereeing arena, because look, we know that referees have bias. They're human, even if they say they don't have bias. Of course they have bias. Maybe they don't have a team that they necessarily support in the Premier League, but maybe their mates do. Maybe they've got a bet on. Who the hell knows? I'm not saying that, you know, there's some kind of like dodgy underhand dealing going on under the table, but you know what, these days I wouldn't even be surprised, because we've heard worse stories go on about referees. So look, I think this is something that needs to be addressed. I think Tottenham Hotspur themselves need to take a good hard look in the mirror, because if they're bringing this up as a problem now, they should have checked in with this way before, and they should get a grip on the game. And quite frankly, the players just need to step up and start winning games and stop moaning about everything. But this clearly comes from the club. And it looks like from the outside that they've actually backed Igor Tudor. Of course, we heard the news yesterday that potentially he would be sacked after the Palace game should he lose that game. I obviously gave you my opinions yesterday on that, and I don't necessarily think he will be. However, it does look like from the way that this has been written, it's basically just backing up what Igor Tudor said, because Tudor obviously called out the referees at the end of the Arsenal game. He also called out the referees at the end of the Fulham game after their first goal got allowed. So obviously now I think it looks like the club are backing our manager, at least publicly. So that's a wrap on that one for now. To move on to our next news headline, Spurs have stepped up the hunt for a new sporting director with checks on Winstanley and Friedman. So this is an article that is in, if I've got it up, she says, I actually don't think I have it up. What a rookie error. Yes, so the source for this is The Telegraph. And also Sky Sports has also picked this up now as well. So I just want to give you guys the original sources so that you can fact check stuff. Because as much as I try and fact check stuff, I know that sometimes stuff slips through the net. But the latest is that, there is a new sporting director search. Those are the two targets. So Paul Winstanley and Dougie Freeman, they are the targets. What we know so far is that, of course, look, we know that Lange was not supposed to be the sporting director. We know that with the departure of Paratici, we're left short on that front. We've heard mixed news about the manager talk, which we're going to come on to very, very shortly. But I think what we just take away from this is that, of course, we're looking to restructure our recruitment department. Let's just say that. One of the challenges or issues that I personally take with this is, look, you can get someone in charge. You can get someone, let's say, even better in charge of the sporting director business. However, if you don't have a manager lined up, if you don't know what division you're going to be in, if you don't know what direction you're going to take as a club, it literally doesn't matter who the hell the sporting director is going to be, because you have no strategy about what players you want to sign, what style of play do you want to have? Because at the end of the day, there are always players out there. There are always players out there. And as we've said before, you can spend money. We have money to spend. The question is, are we spending it in the right way? That's the biggest thing about all of this. So Winstanley was contracted to Chelsea until 2031. He's not expected to quit Stamford Bridge. Friedman joined Al Diriyah in Saudi Arabia's second tier last year. So I'd imagine he's on a massive whack that's also tax-free. But apparently the pair are amongst a couple of possible candidates, and checks have been made, external sources. So I believe this is an ongoing situation. Of course, they're believed to have wanted to replace Paratici. Friedman is known for his work at Crystal Palace before he went to the Saudi League, and he signed Eberechi Eze, he signed Guehi, Olise and Wharton, and he was also heavily involved in the appointment of head coach Oliver Glasner as well, although we know how that's now turned out. So look, there's a lot happening behind the scenes going on. Whether this is some kind of, more news mongering and scaremongering from the club, who the hell knows? Maybe they're even putting out a subtle indirect call to for Pochettino to come back to this club. But that is an ongoing story, guys. So we'll keep one eye on that as we go through the next few months. So in terms of other news, it's been announced that Tottenham players are facing wage cuts should the club be relegated. This story was breaking on the Daily Mail. Oh, no, it wasn't. What am I saying? This wasn't reported on the Daily Mail. This was reported on The Athletic. I've got to get these sources right, guys. So on The Athletic, they were reporting, and also I should mention Sky Sports also piggybacked off this. But David Ornstein is saying that, and I'll read this little bits, I'll paraphrase for this to you, because I know some people don't have subscriptions to The Athletic. But Tottenham Hotspur players face wage cuts if the club is relegated from the Premier League, owing to clauses written in their contracts. I'm not going to remind you what position we are and the fact that we have 10 more games. In summary of this, The Athletic can reveal that most members of the first team squad are on deals which include mandatory salary reductions, and the vast majority would see their earnings slashed by around 50%. It was a provision factored into all existing agreements struck before Daniel Levy's departure as executive chairman in September, granting Spurs an element of protection against the doomsday scenario of demotion. Since Levy's departure, Spurs have signed 2 first-team players, Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid and Brazilian fullback Souza from Santos. We host Crystal Palace on Thursday night, which of course we know. So it's kind of strange why the club would even have this provision in the first place, but it seems that they were fully aware of the situation, because before Daniel Levy left, the whole speculation about who was going to stay, who was going to leave at the end of the season, should Tottenham Hotspur get relegated, and it's now come to light that in fact there were provisions made for this, and there was a mandatory salary reduction which has been put into the contract of players. Originally, when the news was speculating last week, we didn't know what those reductions would look like, and we also didn't know how many players would be on that reduction should that doomsday scenario actually take place. So now it sounds like 50% reduction. I can't imagine too many players will be happy about that. However, they are part of the problem. And I saw an article today saying that Mickey van der Ven wouldn't want to stay, and that's the reason why he's avoiding renewing his contract, and he would want to leave in the summer. But hey, you're still contracted to this club. You cannot absolve yourself of the responsibility, because Mickey van der Ven, you are playing captain. You have captained us for the last 2 games. You will most likely captain the side against Crystal Palace. So it's all very well talking about Madrid, talking about, other clubs coming in for him. But what do you offer? Show yourself. Show more of yourself. What do you offer to us? If you're saying you're Mr. Big salary, big wages, and you're worthy of being in a title-winning club, show it, because if you're 16th, you're a 10th of that problem at the end of the day. So I don't want to hear this nonsense that Mickey is not happy and he doesn't want to renew and blah, 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 because you're part of the problem, mate. I'm sorry. I've just had enough with these players throwing their toys out the pram, because they are all responsible. So do you know what? You can run up and down the pitch, but if you can't defend the box, then that just says it all, doesn't it? Because that's your only job, to stop conceding goals. And we've conceded 2 for the past 8 games. So as far as I'm concerned, you know what? If you get relegated and you don't want to stay, you are contracted, you chose this club, you wanted to play for the badge. So if you want to play for the badge, you've got to show yourself. And at the end of the end of the season, if Spurs are in that conversation, then more questions are going to be asked. And who even knows, if we do get relegated, any club that comes in for these people or these players, honestly, I'd question their integrity as well, because why would you want to, bring someone in who's clearly so visibly throwing their toys out the pram when they're part of the problem? Are they going to go to your club and not perform to the standard that they think that they're at? Anyway, Rank could go on. Let's move on because we've got a lot to get through. Yves Bissouma has come out. He's been talking ahead of the Crystal Palace game this Thursday. I'll give you the quick snapshot of that one because I don't think there's a video on it from what I could see. But Yves Bissouma was very emotional apparently when he declared that we know the situation will change. That's what he said after Sunday's loss at Fulham. He also underlined the importance of the next fixture. So I can only assume that he's going to be starting or playing in that one. He admitted, it says the midfielder admitted, I don't have the words. So basically, he was unable to express his and the team's disappointment at the current predicament. And look, it's a very painful situation. As I said, you know, these players are still human and their confidence has been knocked. But he said there is also a determination to put it right. He was speaking at Craven Cottage and Biss was asked for a message to fans. He said he was asked for a message to fans on the basis that we all want to hear that the players are confident of turning the domestic form around. He said, yeah, for sure. I'm sure we're going to. It's some details. We believe in each other. We believe in the coach. We believe in the work he does for us. We believe in everything. We know the situation will change. We just have to find the right way to do it because we have everything. We have players. We have a team. We have a group, a solid group. It's a moment, of course. We don't feel good. It's not what we want, but together we can change things. I'm sure we will change things as soon as possible. We will start with the game that's coming. We will need everyone. Every fan, because this is really important, especially when we're at home. We will need the fans. We need them. We always need them. I think next game will be the game. It's time to change things. There is actually a video at the bottom of that. So that is on the Tottenham Hotspur official website. If anyone wants to go over and watch that video. Big up Bissouma, because look, for a guy that's been so reckless over the past couple of years and probably caused a lot of disruption, both of those things. You know, it sounds like he's now stepping up as a leader in his own right within the back of the dressing room because, hey, no one else is coming out and talking about it. We certainly haven't heard from Vicario. So the fact that Bissouma's now coming out and talking about it, well, kudos to you, Bissouma. Kudos for you for putting on your big boy pants and coming out and making a statement. Moving on. There has been news, more news. There's been news which has been published by Give Me Sport. This is Ben Jacobs' piece. There's a video, very sorry about that, Ben, if I've screenshot you in a funny way, but this is a video, I found it on X, so if anyone wants to go over there and watch this video, Ben Jacobs is saying that there are 3 potential managers that are in discussion for next season. Guys, my brain has stopped functioning today. I'm sorry for all these brain farts that I'm having. But Pochettino, of course, we know is at the top of that list. The speculation that we hear from Ben Jacobs is that even if we get relegated to the Championship, Pochettino would still be interested in coming back to Tottenham Hotspur. We also know that De Zerbi is one of the names on the list as well. However, he turned down Tottenham Hotspur twice in the past. That's what they're saying. One of those times was under Daniel Levy. And the third name that is in the mix that's being watched is Robbie Keane, who's had some success in Hungary. So keep an eye out for that news story because that's going to be a developing one as well as the season unfolds. In terms of more news, never ending. Tottenham Hotspur consider action against Arsenal supporting scouts who joked about not wanting Badge to touch his skin. So guys, we have a new Arsenal supporting youth scout at Tottenham Hotspur. I don't know exactly the date of when he started the job. However, the Daily Mail has been reporting this piece of news, and I have seen this flying viral everywhere. Essentially, what happened was there is a new youth coach. I don't think that's big enough. Let me see if I can make it a bit bigger. I don't know if I can make it a bit bigger. Sorry about that, guys. But just to skim over it, I'll give you exactly what it says. It says, so the guy's name, it says it's Coachman. It's Coachman. He said, the worst kept secret. It's official. I'm now here. sat and had the conversation, and the project was very exciting to say the least. Now looking forward to getting the new set of superstars to the club. You know, the project's good when you're a boyhood Arsenal fan and you switch sides. Thank you for the support from Ryan FC, who put all the connections together, and Pro Elites for edging me to take the conversation. So he essentially has joined as the scout for the youth, from what I understand. Please don't quote me on that. You can go to the Daily Mail and have a look at all of the news over there in a little bit more detail. However, just to share a little bit more on this, to give you visibility about why the club are so perhaps or considering action against this guy, is because there was a thread that was going around. This looks like Instagram. And as you can see, the name there, it's Coachman. Some of the people were saying under that post, don't let the badge touch your skin. And he was saying, I've got the base layer. Some people were saying we need someone on the inside. And he's going, shh, you know. So this is not a good look for him. It's not a good look for the club. Also, someone posted an emoji of a snake, a meme of a snake under that video, under that picture in the comments. And he said, I know, it's well-deserved. And they said, how the hell did you get dressed in that? And he said, it was tough. So you can imagine, considering all the noise that's been going on about all the gooners coming to work for our club and us having this invasion of, you know, our rivals across the road, you know, it sounds like Spurs are aware of the situation. They are deeply unimpressed. It's being dealt with in-house. How many times have we heard that before? Having traitors at this club, moles, leaks, people making a mockery of this club on the Spurs Stadium app. I mean, it's an absolute joke how they don't vet people properly before they hire them. You know what backlash you're going to get. I know there are policies in place in the UK, that diversity, equity, inclusion, and all of that jazz. But at the end of the day, if your values are not aligned, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what your beliefs are. If you don't believe in the best for this club, then stop hiring people like this. Like, it's madness. It's madness. And this is why I'm saying the club is in turmoil, because they have not got a grip on who they're hiring. You know, the external referees that are going on, they're looking for new directors. It's an absolute shambles, guys. You know, the plot just gets worse and worse and worse. Like, that's the truth of it. Anyway, look, this is obviously not a very nice thing to be seeing. It's not a very nice news story to be reading about, especially given the fact that, look, our marketing director came from Arsenal, our CEO came from Arsenal. The list could go on. And you don't mind it if it's one or two people, but when you basically have emerging departments which are run by the club across the road that also haven't won anything, by the way, it's not like you're recruiting from Chelsea, you know, who's actually won stuff in the past and have a different club culture and mentality. You're literally hiring people who have been accustomed to coming second for the past 8 or whatever years. So the whole thing is just barbaric, if you ask me. Anyway, this was supposed to be a 5-minute video, but it's turned out to be almost half an hour. So thank you so much if you have stuck around this long. That's the wrap up for today. Thank you again so much for the 3,000 subscribers. We're almost at 150,000 views as well, which in 2 months is just mind-blowing. So just thank you all so much again, and welcome to the tribe. Welcome to our new members of the Coys Collective. If you want to join, there is a link below, which is not the community tab, but the join button. If you want to join the community, we will be doing the match previews, predictions, everything tomorrow for the game on Thursday. And of course, I'll be going to the game on Thursday evening. So hopefully this is the last vlog I'm going to have to do with this cracked screen, because hopefully the new Samsung that's just come out, I'm going to try and sort my phone out before the game after that, so I can start getting the vlogs a little bit better quality for you, if nothing else. So thank you all very much for watching today. Like, subscribe, comment, and all of that jazz, and I'll see you all tomorrow in the next video. Bye for now.